After reviewing the company, its growth drivers for the future, and doing a review of the company's historicals, the next step in the valuation process is choosing the valuation method to incorporate for the process ahead. On the basis of the detailed financial analysis, one must carefully analyze the financial information and then decide the most appropriate valuation method. There are three broad approaches used for business valuation: income approach, market approach, and cost approach. Reconciling the values found in the three different approaches takes some time and thought. If we had the perfect markets and the perfect person analyzing them, we'd be okay. Sadly, that's not always the case. After deciding on the appropriate method to be used for the valuation exercise, the most important and final step of the process is to test the value and cross-check it for different scenarios or with other approaches. Both these steps are extremely critical and prone to error. Remember that if you put garbage into the analysis, that's what you will get out. Just as running a successful business takes planning and disciplined effort, effective business valuation requires organization and attention to detail. In this session, let's learn about the factors to consider, caveats, and best practices for deciding the valuation method, as well as testing and cross-checking. In this session, you will learn about deciding the valuation method. Each approach has its pros and cons, so we will cover the selection process and the factors to be considered while zeroing down on the valuation method. We will also learn about football field graphs that will help you decide on the valuation method. Here, we will end this session by covering the last step in the valuation process, that is test valuation and cross-checking. Under this, we will cover cross-checking approaches and how to validate those approaches. A proper valuation process includes 4 basic steps: understanding the company, reviewing the past and projected performance, deciding the valuation method, and finally testing the valuation by cross-checking. We will begin this module with the third step in the valuation process, that is deciding the valuation method. Having discussed the different valuation methodologies and the business situations where they are the right fit for the way ahead, let's look at some of the general factors which help us in deciding the valuation method. The goal in selecting valuation approaches and methods for an asset is to find the most appropriate method under the particular circumstances. As we have learned already, there are 3 approaches to business valuations. They are income approach, market approach, and cost approach. It is important to note that no one method is suitable in every possible situation. The selection process should consider the factors like the appropriate basis of value, the purpose and any reporting requirements known at the time of valuation and forming part of your scope of work, the respective strengths and weaknesses of the possible valuation approaches and methods, and the appropriateness of each method in view of the nature of the asset, and the approaches or methods used by participants in the relevant market, and the availability of reliable information needed to apply the methods. Some other factors to consider in deciding the right valuation approach for a company include standard and premise of value as defined under the scope of work. A hierarchy of methods may be prescribed and hence one can get an idea about the valuation method to be incorporated. The second factor would be the nature of the company's business or asset. For example, a finite-lived asset should be valued using forecast cash flows over the remaining life, and therefore DCF may be used. Another important factor is the current performance of the company and whether it is profitable. If a company is loss-making, most multiples would not be applicable, making relative valuation approach difficult to apply. Last but not the least, the availability and reliability of forecasts, as DCF approach is fraught with subjectivity. Hence, management conviction in and practical achievability of the forecasts is very crucial. There is no requirement to use more than one method for the valuation of an asset, particularly when the person has a high degree of confidence in the accuracy and reliability of a single method. However, it is always recommended to cross-check the value arrived under one method with that under another. When there are insufficient factual or observable inputs for a single method to produce a reliable conclusion, then more than one valuation method have to necessarily be applied. When more than one approach and method is used, or even multiple methods within a single approach, the conclusion of value based on those multiple approaches or methods should be reasonable, and the process of analyzing and reconciling the differing values into a single conclusion should be described by the analyst in his report. After going through the different types of valuation approaches, one may think about the applicability of different approaches in different scenarios. Although there is no hard and fast rule about a specific technique being preferred for any particular type of company, there are some criteria or scenarios where one can take a judgment call about the valuation technique to be incorporated. We will mention some of the circumstances where each of the valuation methods are suitable, as well as common practical difficulties which each of the valuation techniques offer on their own, so that as analyst, you can choose the appropriate method to value a company under certain given circumstances. Now let's compare all the methods on the basis of what we have learned so far. The market approach, both comparable companies and comparable transactions, are useful when the business in question is not entirely unique and there are peer sets to base this analysis on. If the stake under consideration is a minority stake, the multiple based on comparable traded companies can be directly used. But if it is for a controlling stake, then suitable adjustments for control premium need to be made. Again, when using transaction multiples, one needs to consider factors specific to the comparable transaction which are not applicable to the subject company and adjust for these. Similarly, one would also need to adjust for factors specific to the subject company that were not captured by the underlying transaction. The cost approach or book value approach is not usually used to value going concern businesses. It is suitable in a liquidation scenario or when the only way to generate cash from the business is by selling its assets. An exception could be in the case of investment holding companies or companies dealing in buying and selling of real estate with no other activities, where the adjusted book values approach may be a good proxy of value. This is because in such companies, these assets are held for sale and there is no other expected revenue stream. Lastly, the income approach is suitable when there is visibility on future cash flows or when the future performance is expected to be different from past performances, which is typical of growth stage companies. The income approach best captures valuation of companies that are currently loss-making, whereby the market approach cannot be meaningfully applied, but expected to turn profitable in future. It is also the best approach for finite-lived projects and projects having known contractual cash flows. Regardless of which valuation method you choose, it is important that the estimated value is clearly understood and communicated. Such communication should include a summary of the valuation range, documentation of the key assumptions and sensitivities, multiples comparisons, and a clear understanding of the likely earnings impact on the acquirer's business. This enables management to challenge and assess the reasonableness of the valuation. A very useful and widely used tool for such a requirement is the football field analysis. It captures the variations of all the different methods by giving a range in the form of the final output. A football field graph is a graph showing the valuation of a company according to different methodologies. The graph will show the different mean valuations and multiples for the different methodologies and allow an analyst who is conducting the valuation to decide which method to use primarily to achieve the best possible valuation. The football field analysis helps in ironing out the variance observed in the valuation methodologies. Hypothetically, a DCF-based valuation which gives a higher value is given less weightage, while other methods such as the comparable method are given higher weightage because the value coming from them is generally without a premium, hence undervalued. Essentially, this helps us to see how different valuation methodologies compare in terms of the company's implied valuation, and then we can use it to arrive at a common value range as per all the valuation approaches applied. Companies are valued using a combination of multiples and future cash flows, and each of these can be taken in a best, worst and median case. For example, with a discounted cash flow, you could assume that the company will have a terminal growth rate of X%, X plus 1% or X minus 1%, and this would give three different final values. Therefore, the discounted cash flow method will give a range of values for the company. This applies to all valuation methods. You can trade at a high, low or average multiple of earnings, etc. The best way to show this visually is using a graph shown on your screen. This graph shows a variety of valuation ranges based on different methods and multiples. Straight away you can see that the average of all of these gives a share price of around $57, but that you could argue that it's worth anywhere from $45 to $85. This is the benefit of using a football field because it increases the probability of us landing in the right range of the correct value and help us to make things simpler instead of complicating them. Further, in a transaction situation, it gives a cap and a floor to keep in mind during negotiations. Finally, we come to the fourth step in the valuation process, that is testing and cross-checking. The valuation methods discussed so far represent some of the most commonly used approaches by business valuation professionals to generate an opinion of value. Although considerable time and effort is involved in preparing formal business valuations, unfortunately, the results may or may not reflect the real-world value of a specific company. Hence, we try to reach a value which lies in the indicative range of the true value. The best way to do so is to cross-check one method of valuation with another and check the similarity in the final values. Also, as we have seen, the ease with which errors can enter an income approach-based valuation, it is important to cross-check valuation results with a secondary methodology. It is most common to cross-check an income approach-based valuation with a market approach-based valuation. The two are complementary in that the income approach captures variables specific to the asset being valued, while the market approach ensures that the valuation results are reasonably in line with real-world transactions in similar assets. While validating one approach using the other valuation approaches, it is important to perform both types of calculations accurately, and when performed correctly, the results for the two should be relatively similar. In the cases where they are not, it is important to look into the calculations again to find out the source for the mismatch. There may be an error or a case of the business being superior or inferior to its peers. For example, if the value from the DCF approach is coming to be 100 and the value from the comparable method is coming to be 400, one needs to cross-check the calculations to find out the reason for such a mismatch, because such a magnitude of difference is not common. Sometimes the value of a company as per DCF may be far higher than the market approach, since it may be aggressive in its growth projections. In such a case, it may be reasonable to check whether the assumptions need to be revisited and toned down to present a more fair picture. In a case of aggressive assumptions, it may also happen that as a valuer, we have been overcautious by taking a larger risk premium in the discount rate to account for the additional risk from aggressive projections. This being a subjective input to the valuation, now may be a good time to rethink whether that risk premium is appropriate. As valuers, there are several subjective calls involved in the valuation process, like deciding the discount rate or the selection of the transaction multiples. At every stage, there is a risk of judgment error, calculation error, or biases at play. This leads to high probability that the values from different approaches may be far apart. In another example, consider two prospective business buyers doing the income projections and assessing the risk of owning a given business. Each buyer will likely have a different perception of the risk involved, hence their capitalization and discount rates will differ. Also, the two buyers may have different plans for the business, which will affect how they project the income stream. Thus, even if they use the same valuation methods, the resulting value conclusions may be quite different. When testing values, it is important to identify reasons for variations and evaluate whether these differences are on account of subjective or objective factors. Again, when using transaction multiples, for instance, it is important to evaluate any special considerations that were applicable to the transaction, such as exclusive rights or high-value brands, but may not apply to our subject company, and hence we may want to reassess whether the multiple that we are using is appropriate. Cross-checking values as per various methods flashes a mirror to possible misses that we may have made in our analysis and gives us an opportunity to identify and rectify these. Normally, one will not find a company that is perfectly comparable, and hence differences are to be expected, but till the time they are explainable, one is on the right track. While doing the cross-check, the cost approach usually forms the floor of the indicative range deduced from the other two methods. It is always a good practice to cross-check the value calculated with more than a single valuation approach. That's it for now. We hope you found this session insightful.